Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock. I've been up for a little bit. Got up, fed my babies, and put my dogs out, and did the dish. My normal routine every day. We're going out on the water. See, I'm dressed for the water, sort of. I went out to take the dogs out, and I was like, Jesus, it's chilly. I looked at the temperature. It's 47 degrees outside. However, it's going to be a high of 83, 84. So by the time the sun's done coming up, it'll be plenty warm. Go to the water. Oh, I got my earrings on. I might wear them to the water. I don't care. So that's what we're doing today. I think we're all right. I let the hubby sleep for a little while. And then I'm going to go in and jump on him, make him get up and get our day started. I came on here to tell you something, and again, here goes one of them getting old bullshit things that's not going to take me over. I'll figure it out. Oh, I know, I was sitting here this morning. Did you ever realize when you get older how much of your parents, not only emotional, thought-wise traits you take over, but look-wise? I always knew growing up I favored my daddy. My sisters looked like my mom, but I looked like my daddy. Well, the proof is in the frickin' pudding now. Look at the size of these ears. Look at them. Never used to notice them before because, when you're younger, you wear your hair down. Now I'm old, I pull it back. I don't want to fuck with it. But look at the size of these ears. But what really you notice? Look at my nose. Look at the size of this one. Now, mind you, my daddy was a handsome man. Oh, he was handsome. I'll show a picture of him someday. But yeah, he had some ears and his nose was... Maybe it needs to be bigger for me so I could stick it in more people's business, huh? No, I ain't doing that. But yeah, did you ever realize every time I look in the mirror, other than these wrinkles that I've earned, I see my dad. I know I'm my dad because I'm not like the rest of my family, my sisters especially. Little on the wild side. And always taking those stupid unnecessary... I remember when I was younger, Mom and Dad divorced when I was like 8 years old, I think. And so that would make my older sister about 10. Well, I remember when she became about 12 years old. Bless her heart. Rest in peace up there, sis. But she was the town trash. Yeah. I remember my mother would have to call my daddy 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Jennifer's missing. Here he'd come. Wake up the whole house. Call the police. She's down the street at the Smith boys' house. And that's the true name, Smith boys. Let me put my glasses on. Maybe I can see better this morning. She'd be down there hanging out. And of course, that puts a reflection. Let me take them off. Anyhow, here's my dad called out from his new family. Having to take off, go find my sister, wake everybody up, piss my mom off, piss her new husband off. What a joy that was. And my younger sister, of course, she was the baby. She just got to do what the fuck she wanted to do and treat people how she wanted and got her way all the time. And so when they say that thing about the middle kid, in my case, it's true. In the midst of all this, my mom and her husband decided, I don't think they decided, I think it was an accident, to have another child. Because they were married in February, maybe. And that child was here in December. So the time frame kind of I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't really sat down to do the math. So here comes the new little boy. Absolutely loved my brother. He was colicky. And of course, my mother, and you will find out through my videos, my mother and I did not like each other, and there is no lying about that. I can't sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We just didn't like each other. So guess who got to walk the goddamn floors all night with the colicky baby? My mom wasn't going to do it. Oh, heavens forbid. And of course, Norma was too young, and Jennifer was out running the fucking streets all night. So here I am walking this colicky kid. Then I had to get up and go to school. That did not make me happy, but I did it. And wasn't happy about it. Got through school work, did what I had to do. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. So hold on a minute. I gotta walk over here and close the bedroom door. The cat just went in there and opened it. Eddie, come out here. Come on. Come on. Okay, don't. I hear my dog barking outside. I'll take you with me. I gotta go out and bring them in. So anyhow, I did what I was supposed to do while the youngest one was too young and the oldest one's out being a little trashy thing. So finally, around the time I was 16, I was a little sick and tired of it because my mother had no clue how to dish out punishment if you did something wrong. Come on. However, like all through my life, I didn't give them any problems. I didn't want my ass beat because you know what? My mother, every time I turned around, my mother beat the fuck out of me. Not my younger sister. She was the baby. She was too young. And not the older one, because now grandma comes in to rescue her. So, hold on, I'm walking through my house. I'm going to close my house. Oh, I did. So, I walked that chalk line. And I'm not talking about my mom would beat your ass. That woman would drag me through the house by the hair of my fucking head. I would go to school with bruises, but back then, it was okay. And that's literally beating. It's not punishing your children. It's not whipping their ass. My mother beat the fuck out of me all the time. So, about 16, I got a job. Still going to school. Went to school in the mornings, got in a work program. Got a job. Started working. Got a car so I could be independent. Of course, well, you're only 16 years old. Blah, 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 blah. I had a boyfriend. He lived 20-some miles away. He was allowed to drive 20 miles to visit me at home at 16 for 30 minutes. Of course, him and I were thrilled about that, because we got to see each other. Well, let me tell you what. I put up with that bullshit all longer I was going to. I had me a little money, and, back then, wasn't like it is now. $165 a month. I got a little one-bedroom apartment, and that included my utilities. I was happy as hell. Life went on. Well, I got pregnant by my boyfriend, the same one that lived 20 miles away. I didn't tell anybody. Me and one of my girlfriends just took off. We went traveling. We ended up in Mississippi. Well, my mom ended up finding me and getting a hold of me and wanted me to come back. Don't have the baby by yourself, blah, 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 blah. So I stayed away for a few months, give her a chance to grow up a little bit. Drink a coffee. So in the meantime, I go back home and I go see my boyfriend. Well, He didn't know at this point that I was pregnant. I don't really think it was any of his fucking business, really. I told him. Now, mind you, I'd been seeing this boy since I was like 13. He slapped me and knocked me across the kitchen. Guess what? Out the door I went. I went back one time and I'll let you know about that. So I go do my thing, have my child. In the meantime, I'm arguing with my mother. She wants to control me. She wants to rule this. Well, here was her biggest fucking mistake that came out of her mouth. Well, since you're young and single and your sister, the oldest one, Jennifer, just got married and she's having a hard time conceiving, why don't you let her have your baby? Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Let her have my baby. Let me tell you what, some of the bullshit I went through in my life with this family. You'll hear it a little bit here and there. So, and I was over visiting that day, and I went to pick my child up to leave. I'd already had her at this point. You got to remember, this was like 40-some years ago, so my timelines might be off a little bit. She picked up my child, wouldn't let me have her. I got my kid back. Took her away from her. She's standing by the back door, this storm door, I guess we called them. Glass, not screen, but it had glass in it. But she wouldn't let me out. I pushed her right through that fucking door. I did. Took my child, got in my car. I wasn't 6 blocks from her house. Police pulled me over. He says, do you know why I pulled you over? And I said, no, I don't. I just left my mom's house. I know I'm not speeding. Haven't had time to get that going that fast. He says, is that your child in the car? I said, yes, sir, it is. He says, well, Mrs. Cross just called us and said that you kidnapped her child. What? Mrs. Cross just called us. He says, I need you to step out of the car. I said, good. I said, because my purse is in a fucking trunk, and I got her birth certificate in there. I have her matching and my matching hospital bands in my purse. I carry those with me all the time. So I get out, and of course, now he has to pull his gun because I'm opening my trunk. I'm a kid. Of course, nowadays, I get it, but so I have to stand there with his fucking gun drawn on me, getting in the trunk of my car to prove to him that's my child. So I did, he apologized, blah, blah, blah. And they got my mom for filing a false police report on that one. So with this part of this scenario, I'll tell you one more thing, and then we'll drop this. One much longer. We have a family attorney, or had one back then. I'm sure she's gone by now. Her name was Dorothy Bergman. My mom called her. My mom thought that they were going to take my child away. Well, thank God it was a family attorney. She knew all of us, and she knew my mom. She knew my sister. Oh, my God, she knew my sister. And she told my mother. She said, Nancy, let me tell you something. She says, first of all, you have to prove her unfit. She says, and I know your daughter, and she said, that one is not unfit. She says, and I'm going to tell you another thing. If I get her pulled away in courts, you'll not see her, and neither will Jennifer. And she told my mom to cut the shit. So that just opened up a whole new can of worms with my mother. She was very vindictive, and I'm gonna. And that might be where I get some of my strong-willed from, but I'm not at all like her, and not personality-wise at all. And I'm sure in her own way, she might have been a good person, but her relationship with me sucked. And it continued all through life. Um, I would go visit her. She tended bar a lot. She'd work at like the VFW or here, there. And, I would stop in, doing the daughter thing if I was in the area and she was working. I can't tell you how many times she would introduce me as, oh, this is my daughter, the black sheep, or this is my daughter, the bitch. Certainly did not help the development of our relationship, because there was none at this point. There was none. But old Jennifer's out there stealing checks out of Grandma's checkbook out of the middle and writing checks and depleting Grandma's checking. Oh, she didn't write them, yet they're made out to her and she signed the back of it, but she didn't do this bullshit. And it was okay that she was out doing what she was doing. And by this point, she was into drugs. And of course, my younger sister had gotten pregnant at like 16 and she's having a baby. And, those are all major contenders in the family. Not that I was the good one in trying to help. So I went on with my life. I worked. I took care of my daughter. I think she might have been maybe a year or so. And my mom and her new husband number three, she walked out, left her first husband. He came home from work. His house was empty. She destroyed that man. And he was a good man. But she ran off with her third cousin. Yeah. Anyhow, they had gotten married. They hadn't gotten married at this point. They had gone to Texas. And, all I heard from my mom was, please come down here, bring the baby, come stay with us. You'll love us down here, blah, 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 blah. So I thought, well, Texas, that's cool. So I packed up my apartment, put her in the car, and off we went. Went to Texas. Loved it. Just getting settled in. There about 6 months. Well, she decides she wants to come to Florida. Well, I knew I had a lot of family here, and I'd been here so much when I was a child. I was like, okay. Things were a little sketchy. And you know what she did to me in Texas? I have to tell you, look at that lump in my hair. You know what she did to me? We were in Texas. And she says, let me color your hair. Trying to get along. Okay. Now, mind you, I'm a natural redhead, so you have to be careful what colors you put on my head, regardless. So she puts the color on my hair, and immediately it started burning my head. And I told her, I said, Mom, it's burning. She said, no, that's all right. She said, you got a little bit of hair on your lip. She says, I know how to fix that. Well, it never bothered me, we couldn't see it. It was blonde. She said, let me fix it. She gets out the Nair. She put that on my lip. Okay. So we get that off my lip. Well, mind you, I'm young. I had nice skin then. She put men's aftershave on my lip. You want to talk about hurt? She thought it was funny. And she knew what was going to happen. My lip burnt. My lip swelled out past my nose. She says, well, okay, I checked your hair. It's time to take the color off. Well, I didn't know. It wasn't time to take it off. But I'm listening to her, right? Because it's the right thing to do. I'm trying to get along. I'm trying for some unity. She's got a granddaughter. The next morning, I had my hair in a bandana, my lip out past my nose, trying to find a pharmacy. Lip wasn't a whole lot I could do about. My hair was the most god-awful color orange. So I find a pharmacy. I go. I do that. I fix my hair. My lips still a mess. They want to go out. They want to go out to um, Gillies in Houston. They wanted to go there with me looking like this. She just loved to publicly shame me and tear me down, and I don't know why. I don't know why, because you know what? I put up with her shit. I helped her out. She got sick. I went and took care of her filthy fucking house while she was sick. Helped her husband. Put air conditioning in their house because their air conditioning went out. Took food. Ran back and forth about, I don't know, 25, 30 miles one way every day. Take care of her at the hospital. Did everything a good daughter should do. Spoke with the doctors. Made sure they were doing the proper thing. And we finally got the result when the doctor walked in the room one day, and I'll never forget the look on her face. He just flat out looked at her. Just kind of pissed me off. Nancy, you're dying, and there's nothing I can do for you. He says, you're not going to make it to see next Christmas. Just like that. So I walked out in the hall with him, and I looked at him, and I said, the hell do you think you're doing? I said, so what is it? You've been treating her for lung issues. You've been saying emphysema. You've been saying, oh shit. You know, the other normal one that they tell everybody. There goes that brain again. I said, you've been her lung doctor for 5 years. Well, yeah, had I caught this sooner, I probably could have saved. I looked at him, I said, what? I said, what the hell is wrong with her? Stage 4 lung cancer, and it had metastasized. Are you fucking kidding me? Her lung doctor for 5 years, and you're just now finding out, and she's in stage 4? I would have killed him right there. Except again, thinking of Mommy dear. Mommy loved her doctor and thought he was just exquisite. There was no way I was going to tell her that he should have caught this or could have caught this. So from there, she went to a rehab, and she, you know, it was the calm before the storm. She was feeling better. She was able to get out of the bed. I had to go to her house, get all her mail. She was paying her bills. It didn't last but a couple of days. She's back in the hospital. Not doing good. I didn't give her much time. I said, unhook every fucking thing you have her hooked to. I'm taking her home. I'm taking her the fuck home. So I got with hospice. Got her a hospital bed in my dining room. Got everything set up for her. Put down strict rules in my home. You know, no smoking, no up late, no nothing, no. She got there on a Saturday. Came in on the gurney. They brought her by ambulance. They had her sitting up. Happy as could be. Of course, at this point, she's kind of in and out. And it's useless to be mad at her at this point. You know, I was just going to make her last few days on earth as good as it could be. So they brought her in on a Saturday, sitting up on the gurney, smiling. She comes in. Hospice is there. The nurse is there. We get her all set up. Get her in her hospital bed. She wants my puppy because she thinks she's at home. This is mentally where she's at. She's coming and going. So I put my doggy up on her bed, and she's happy as could be. Everything she did, 3 o'clock in the night. You know, I need a drink of water. I need this. Can I have a beer? So, Mom, if you want a beer, you can have a beer. And another time, 3 o'clock, she woke me up. I slept at her feet. I pulled my love seat from my living room and put it at the foot of the bed. She asked me one night, 3 o'clock, I need a cigarette. Can I have a cigarette? I said, Mom, you haven't smoked them. You quit smoking 5 years ago at least. Oh, I did? I said, but if you want that cigarette, I'll get you that cigarette. No, if I quit, that's okay. So over the next few days, this was a Saturday they brought her in. By Thursday, it wasn't good. And I called the nurse, and she come out. She was mottling started in her tips of her fingers. That's when you start dying. Tips of her fingers were black, her toes. Rigor mortis, no, she's still alive. Rigor mortis was starting to set into her face. So she didn't have much facial expressions. She couldn't speak a lot. And so the nurse said, well, it's time we start up in the morphine. Give me a minute. Even though the bad relationship I had with this woman all my life brought her home to my home to have her last few days, at 3 o'clock that following Saturday, sleeping at her feet. I had called both my sisters, and I said, look, you need to get over here. Mom's not going to make it. 3 o'clock. She took her last breath. So we called the funeral home. Sorry. I told you it's real. I'm not cutting anything. Called the funeral home. And they came and got her. And I had put a little crocheted angel with a little pearl head on her pillow. And that stayed there the whole time she was in my home. And I told him, I said, that goes with her and it stays on her pillow. I said, and when you take her out of my home, I don't care how you do things, but you're not covering her head up to take her out of my home. I said, you're not zipping her in a bag. I said, you take her out just like she is. And they did. They were wonderful. Excuse me. Let me get a tissue. They were wonderful. They did exactly what I asked. They took her out. Did their thing. She was cremated. I had a wake for her because we are 99% Irish. Went through all that motion. Then, after that, she wanted to be buried in Ohio. We've got 6 plots. Well, not 6 now. Grandpa's had one. And he was up there by himself in those 6 plots. Now, mind you, my grandma, his wife, had died years ago. She was on a shelf in somebody's house. She wanted to be buried there. And then my Aunt Sally, my mom's sister, had passed when she was in her early 50s from cancer. So, the right thing to do. Took me 19 plane trips to Ohio to get this taken care of. Anyhow, let me get off of here. Let me go wash my face, and I'll come back and tell you about them plane trips. Oh my God, that was something else. Anyhow, and for those that are younger, some of my videos are going to be some of the things you go through in life. This was a hard one for me, even though my mother and I didn't get along. It was hard, but I took care of everything until the last minute of everything I could do for that woman. I'll be back. Let me put myself together. I'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll do another video on what happened with all those ashes from her mother, and her sister. I'll be back, guys. See ya.